Welcome to Garden-Wise Adventures. My name is Malie, and today it's a cold day in November. It's the very first week in November, and it's time to do another What's Blooming in My Water-Wise landscape. Now, I live in Utah, zone 6/7, and we've had an unusually warm fall. It was one of the hottest Octobers ever recorded in the state of Utah. We had several days in the 90s, most of the days are in the 80s, and it was absolutely gorgeous. But that has put us behind on a lot of the fall color, but we're finally starting to see some of it. And we still have flowers blooming early in November. So before I show you what is blooming now, I'm going to show you what you missed in October. So now that we've showed you what you've missed, let's show you what's blooming now. Now, just before we get to that, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about this year's weather. It's been really, really different. Last month, which was October, was clocked in as one of the hottest Octobers in the state of Utah ever. We had a couple of days in the 90s, most of the days were up into the 80s, and it was only last week, which was the last week in October, where we've had freezing weather at nights. But the days have popped back up into the 40s and 50s, which is still it feels quite cold to me, but it's not as cold as it's going to get. So we still have a lot of flowers blooming. It's put our fall color behind a little bit. Let's show you some of that fall color and what flowers are blooming. Now it's only going to last for probably another day or so because we're going to finally start getting into the 20s at night, which is going to kill off the last of everything else. And then we're going to get into fall cleanup, which will be another video in another week. So let's show you what's blooming now. So just like in past videos, I'm going to start on the south side of my property. And we've got a lot of beautiful colors still, even though it's the beginning of November and we've had cold temperatures. First thing I wanted to show you is this mum. It's just about past its prime. We're going to hit in the low 20s in the middle of the week this week. And so this will just be done. And then we're going to be ready to cut it back and start fall cleanup. We still have color on my beautiful pugstrip butterfly bush. I think it's absolutely gorgeous, and I really love the contrast between the silver on the tips and the spent flowers. So I think it's really actually pretty this time of year. The sedums are almost done. Now, I know a lot of people leave them up over the winter, but I found with the snow that we get and the really cold temperatures, these end up flat on the ground and they just look messy. So I do cut back my sedum. We're going to be cutting back quite a bit of this, and I'll take you along on my fall cleanup and talk to you a little bit about what I cut back each year and why. The Russellbrush switchgrass, or panicum, is in its fall color glory. I think it's really pretty, and that's one that's going to be cut back because the snows do flatten it and it is a mess to clean up in the spring. The Glow Girl Spirea is starting to get its fall color. This one's a little behind, but it's going to be absolutely gorgeous by the next video. And the Sundancer Daisy that started blooming in May this year, normally it starts blooming in April, is still going strong. It's absolutely gorgeous. We showed you pictures of the saffron. We just get a week or two of bloom on that, and I got quite a good harvest. We've still got flowers on my chaste tree. This chaste tree starts blooming in June, and it doesn't stop blooming until probably the end of November when it freezes. We've got the seeds forming. The seeds are very medicinal, but I do end up tossing them. I do end up cutting them back and tossing them. Sometimes I offer them to see if people want them. But I cut them back in December because I don't like the mess that they make. We're starting to see a little bit of the fall color on my fine line buckthorn. This will turn a gorgeous yellow. We've got my beautiful little pink mum that's just about done. And we've still got a lot of great flowers on my Wild Thing salvia. This has been a really fun salvia to have. And last year, my curly sage stayed up most of the year. It stayed this beautiful gray all the way through the winter, and we'll see what happens this winter. This spring, I cut back my Little Devil Ninebark. Now, this is a 15-year-old bush that used to be huge, but it's been transplanted a couple of times and cut back several times, and it's finally just starting to come back. It's a really tough bush. I don't like to cut them back unless absolutely necessary. If I start seeing them struggle a little bit, I'll cut them back and then cut as much as the old woody growth out of the center as I can. But I never cut them back by half when it's a ninebark, and I'll link a video up above that shows you how I prune ninebarks. I always cut them to the ground or cut certain branches to the ground. Never cut these branches in half, because then what you're going to get is just a witch's broom effect and it loses its beautiful shape. Now, I love having different foliage colors in the yard. This is called platinum sage. It's got gorgeous blue flowers in June, and I think it's absolutely gorgeous in the fall because it contrasts with all the fall colors. So I do like to plan for fall foliage color, including things like silver. Another one that I have that contrasts beautifully are my variegated iris. Another one that's entering its beautiful fall color stage is this ninebark. Now, I'll put the name on the screen because my brain is just not working really well today and I'm forgetting names of things, but it's absolutely gorgeous. This is one of my favorite ninebarks, and then look at the bark on this. This is what happens when you leave some of the branches to grow to maturity. It kind of flakes And this is why they're called 9-bark. It's because supposedly you get 9 different colors. I've never counted it, but they're absolutely gorgeous if you leave some larger branches. I think this one is Autumn Fire. I'll have to put the name on the screen, but I absolutely love the color on this 9-bark. It's one of my favorite ones. Now I have 2 perennials that bloom the entire year. They start blooming in April or as soon as it warms up enough, and they bloom all the way through until the freezes kill them. One is the Sundancer Daisy that we just showed you, and the other one is the Catmint. Catmint just blooms over and over. Now I cut this one back in, I think it was July, all the way back, and this is what it has turned into, and it's absolutely gorgeous. We've still got calendulas and alyssum. The alyssum also blooms all year long. It reseeds itself. This is all reseeded alyssum. I think it's really pretty, and reseeded calendulas. And we've got reseeded nasturtiums. These all make beautiful fall color, and these will all keep going until a deep freeze kills them. Like I said, we've hit below 32 degrees, just barely below 32 degrees, and they're still going. As soon as we hit the 20s, these will be gone and I'll pull them out. My yellow mums that were so glorious are done, and this is the fall color of the Glow Girl Spirea. You get all the different colors mixed in. You've got reds and purples and yellows and oranges. And right now, because we're just barely getting into the fall color, we've still got a little bit of green left, and I think it's gorgeous. Back here, that's a little tiny plumbago ground cover, and it's starting to get its fall color, which is gorgeous. And then this one on my Moonshine Yarrow is starting to bloom again. This will be cut back all the way to the ground as soon as the frost hits, as will the flower stalks on this lavender. I mean, look at this. It smells so good. I absolutely love that the lavender is still blooming. This is unusual for Utah. Most of the time lavender is done blooming by August, maybe the end of July. But this year it's just kept going, and I think it's gorgeous. But it will stay evergreen all winter long, and so we'll have that gorgeous gray foliage for the winter. Another one that's changing its color are my pomegranates. They turn brilliant yellow, and I'll show you one in the back that is absolutely gorgeous. Got a ton of little Johnny jump ups that are starting to grow, that are starting to come up again. These will come up, and if we have a mild enough winter, they'll bloom all winter. If it's not mild enough, they'll just sit there and then they'll bloom again in the spring. So in this little protected spot right here, we have some reseeded pineapple sage that I'm just going to leave and let reseed itself again. So this was grown in my green stock right here last year, which we still have my hot lips salvia blooming, and it's hot lips because sometimes you get white blooms in there. Most of them are red. Sometimes you get pure white ones like this one right here, and sometimes you get ones like this one that are bicolor. So I really love the hot lip salvia. Supposedly it's hardy to zone 7, which we're technically a zone 7. I'm going to leave this up in the green stock and see how well it does over the winter. But anyway, the pineapple sage was in that green stock last year and reseeded itself and has been growing down here, so I'm going to allow it to reseed itself again. Another grass that I absolutely love for winter texture and color that I leave up until next spring is my Mexican feathergrass. It just gives that gorgeous wheat color with the beautiful fine texture, and in the wind it's gorgeous. Here's some more of my deep purple alyssum, a little bit of sedum, and then my Sundancer daisies. I think Sundancer daisies are so underrated. I think everybody should have those in their yard. They give a gorgeous pop of yellow color. I've never really deadhead them. I only cut them back in the early spring. I leave these up over the winter so they'll reseed themselves. So they reseed themselves, they bloom for a long period of time, they're not invasive, and they're native to Utah. I absolutely love them. They're one of my favorite flowers in the yard. I've showed you this in a previous video. This is a reseeded petunia. Now, it reseeded itself from petunias that grew here years and years ago. So I don't know how long petunia seeds last, but obviously they last for years. It's been at least 10 years since I've had maybe even longer since I've had petunias in this bed. But we're just going to leave this, let it reseed itself and see what happens. I've got another sea of reseeded alyssum with another Wild Thing salvia. It's looking great. With a little bit more of my Sundancer daisies. This is another one of my red, well, it's not really red, it's kind of a mauve. I don't know the color, but anyway. This mum is the one that's mirrored on the other side. This seems to have the longest bloom time. So this started blooming before my yellow ones. This is what the yellow ones look like right now. And this is what this one looks like. This one started blooming almost a month before this one did. Well, maybe it was about 3 weeks. But anyway, it's got a really, really long bloom time and it's absolutely gorgeous. The Zauschneria is done. This is the hummingbird trumpet, and it looks like it's a little more susceptible to the cold temperatures. Now it's completely hardy. It's not going to die completely back, but it will die to the ground, and this is another one that I'm going to cut back all the way, probably in a week or two. As soon as the heavy freezes kill it to the ground, it's just a mess, so I'm just going to clean it up and probably remove it because it does spread. Remove it from the areas where I don't want it. Strawberries are getting their fall color. It's another reason I love strawberries as an ornamental plant. They give you food, they give you beauty, and they're an excellent ground cover. Look how dense these are, and they don't let weeds come up. Another one that I love that will stay this color all winter long is the partridge feather. Partridge feather is absolutely glorious. Now I need to remove the strawberries out from around this one because it doesn't like to be eaten by strawberries. And I'll probably move the strawberries back from this one too. So my strawberry patch is going to get thinned out. Here's another Glow Girl Spirea that's deeper into the fall color. And just look at the color on that. It's another reason I absolutely love the Glow Girl Spirea. They get chartreuse color in the spring with beautiful white flowers in the summer, and then this color in the fall. Another one that's really surprised me is this little succulent. This is a Louisia, and it bloomed all through the spring into the summer, took a little bit of a break, and now it's blooming again in the fall. I didn't realize they bloomed in the fall, but I'm really in love with this plant. We've got a few stray blooms on the germander. The germander is also going to stay evergreen over the winter. Only the harshest winters will kill it back, and then it'll come back from the roots like regular perennials. But I didn't realize that it would bloom so late into the season. Now normally I don't include my backyard on my videos that showcase what's blooming in my waterwise landscape because I generally consider my front yard as the waterwise part. But my backyard is also waterwise, except for this side right here. This is my shade garden. The hostas have already been killed back by the frost, but I wanted to show you the glorious, glorious hydrangeas. I love the color that the flowers turn in the fall, and the leaves, we may actually get the fall color that we need this year. Now, a lot of winters, these leaves just are killed back by a deep freeze. Most winters in the last probably, I'd say 8-9 years, in October, we'll get temperatures that just drop down to 18 degrees, 15 degrees, and then they bounce right back up. But when it hits that temperature overnight, then all the foliage is killed on all of our plants. So a lot of times we'll miss the fall color because the cold weather kills them the color that they are. But this year, we're having a long, slow autumn, and the color is coming. So I'm excited to see if maybe in the next video we can show you this in full autumn glory. We've got the Brennera and the Japanese forest grass and lamium all together, which is absolutely gorgeous. I love the color combinations there. And then we've got this other. Now these two hydrangeas are Hydrangea macrophylla, which typically is not the best for Utah. They just like the area that I have them in. So this is in the summer. So you get things like this. You get the new blooms, you get older blooms, and then you get the oldest blooms that are these colors. So you get a mix of colors and you get flowers the entire season. I absolutely love these. Now the conditions that Hydrangea macrophylla need are not for the drought-tolerant garden. They need a lot of water. These get watered 3 times a week. and they need early morning sun and then shade in the afternoon. Now this year the temperatures hit in the 100 degrees most of the season, but because this is on the north side of my property, it was sheltered during the hottest part of the day. Now we've got this gorgeous yellow color on my Asian pears, and I just finished harvesting the last of them. That's been fun. Then look at the color that's coming on this pomegranate. This is a Parfianca pomegranate, and it seems to have the most glorious autumn colors. Now my persimmons are almost done with their fall color. This one is just starting its autumn color. They turn fire engine red and are beautiful. Once again, we've got strawberries for color. This in the backyard, the strawberries, I do hand water the strawberries 3 times a week. I do that in the front yard and the backyard. So they're not extremely water-wise, but they make glorious ground covers and good food. Now this is my serviceberry, which is water-wise, and interestingly enough, it's turning yellow instead of the reds and oranges and purples that it has in the past years. Now it'll be interesting to see as this fall kind of continues and see if it actually does change to the colors that I love. And I'll put a picture up that shows what it looked like in past years. So as you can see, even in colder climates in November, when you've had freezing temperatures overnight, you can still have blooms and color. You just need to plan really carefully for the texture, plan carefully for your fall color when you're choosing plants. Don't just choose the plants that are blooming in the garden center midsummer, because you're going to totally miss out on a beautiful time of year. Now, I would love to hear what your favorite fall flowers are, what flowers are still blooming in your area, and if you've had a freeze yet. So hopefully this video has been helpful for you. If it has been helpful, I hope you like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and go have a wonderful garden adventure.